Hi people, it's me, Anja. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for part 2 of my worst books of 2025. Because I posted part 1 of my worst books of 2025 in the middle of last year, in like mid-June or something like that. So watch that if you want to know my worst books of the year from January to June. Today's video recaps the most disappointing books that I read from June to December. So anyway, without any further ado, I will be spoiling all these books, and I will not be really focusing on the synopses of any of them because I'm not promoting these books because I didn't like them. So anyway, without any further ado, the first book on this list is called Passing. I hate this book. Let's start there. I don't like this book because Irene, the main character, pisses me off so much. I feel like the entire story, she's projecting her internalized racism onto her former best friend, Claire, who's passing as white, just because, like, I don't know, it annoyed me so much that Irene passes as white too, but only when it conveniences herself, whereas Claire is taking a much bigger risk because she's passing as white for her entire life. And yes, her husband sucks. Her husband is so racist and so bad, and I don't like him at all, and you're not supposed to, and that's the point. But Irene pisses me off so much. She is so annoying, and yeah, I think Irene killed Claire. I do. I think Irene pushed her. I really, really do. And also, why do you think that your best friend and your own husband are having an affair? Like, what? And then you also think sometimes that your husband is gay. Like, which one is it? Because I know that you don't think that he's bisexual. Like, you think he's gay, and then you also think that he's having an affair with your best friend. Make up your mind. Like, Irene is so annoying. Also, the fact that she refuses to talk about racism with her own children is so weird to me because it means that she's a bad parent. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember how old her children are, but there are ways to describe racism to a younger audience. And the fact that you're not going to do it at all is so weird because, like, your children are Black. Like, they're going to encounter racism, especially in a 1920s setting around other people. Like, they're going to encounter white peers who are racist, and like, you have to talk about it with them because otherwise, when these racist things happen to them, they're not going to come to you because they're not going to trust you if you don't open these conversations for them. Does that make any sense? Like, if you're not creating a safe space where you're having open conversations about race and racism and internalized racism and colorism and passing and white supremacy and everything, like, your children are not going to come to you as a trusted resource when these racist things do in fact happen to them. Because if you think that you're sheltering your children because you think that these things are not going to happen, like, I think that that's so ignorant and so dumb because these things are going to happen to them. The ways in which a Black child is perceived versus a white child, especially in a 1920s setting, but even in a 2026 setting, is so different, and you have to realize that. You have to think about how your children are going to be perceived in the eyes of, like, their peers, but also society and just in general, but especially if they're marginalized in any way. But even if, like, I don't know, your children might be marginalized in other ways that you might not even realize because you don't talk about these things with them. And now I'm speaking from a more, I don't know, general perspective because I don't know, I think one of the reasons as to why Irene annoyed me so much is because she reminded me of so many people, or kinds of people that I've encountered, like, online in general. Like, when parents refuse to talk to their children about things that they think that they're sheltering their children from, like, I don't understand the point of that at all. Like, there are ways to have, like, more serious conversations with your children in ways that are more PG. You know what I mean? And if you refuse to do that, then you're setting your kid up for failure. Or at least your own parenting. Like, if you, for example, if you refuse to talk about queerness with your children, that means that you're not creating a safe space for your children in the future if they choose to come out to you, for example. I don't know. Anyway, Irene is so annoying to me, and I don't even know if this book is, like, universally loved or anything like that. So I don't really know if I'm of the unpopular opinion or not, but, like, yeah. Passing is one of my least favorite books of this year. So honestly, with Passing, like I mentioned earlier, I dislike that book so much, and that was clear because I ranted for more than 5 minutes about it, but I promise you, for the rest of the books on this list, I'm not going to talk about it for that long. So anyway, the next book on this list is called Try Your Worst. I don't remember what this book is about. I think it's about, like, 2 sapphic main characters who team up and end up falling in love with each other because, like, I don't know, they've always had an animosity or something towards each other, but they start to team up because they are both being framed for something that sounds like something that each other would do, but neither of them did it. And I really didn't like how the conflict resolution was dealt with, and I think that the person that actually did all these things that the 2 main characters are being blamed for wasn't dealt with properly and deserved way more whackings. Like, I didn't like that. Also, I didn't care for the romance itself. Like, enemies to lovers has always been one of my least favorite romantic tropes, and in the past, I've always justified enjoying it when it comes to a gay romance. But in this case, I still didn't enjoy it because I don't think that they have really any chemistry. Is there anything that I enjoyed about this book? Maybe the disability representation, that I don't even remember what it is specifically. But anyway, I didn't like this book very much. So there's that. The next book on this list is called This Book Might Be About Zinnia. This story is a YA contemporary following a young Black main character in modern day who's trying to find her biological mother. And then the other storyline is about her biological mother as a teenager, if I'm not mistaken. I love how I said at the very beginning of this video that I wasn't going to explain the synopsis of any of these books, but then I completely ate my words. And I think that I said that at the beginning of this video because I didn't really remember, or I didn't want to articulate the synopsis of Passing because I knew that I wouldn't be able to do it justice. And yeah, I don't really want any of those people who really love classics to shit on me for shitting on Passing. But, you know, sometimes books don't age well. So anyway, in conclusion, this book was not very good. I didn't like it because, like, the concept itself is intriguing, but the execution was completely off. Are Ezra and Tuesday related? Like, I'm so confused. Why does Ezra say that, like, they could have been raised as siblings, but they weren't? There was so much, like, unnecessary lore dropping randomly. And, like, towards the end, Zinnia, I think, gets kidnapped. What? Why is the mob involved? Who wrote this book? I don't understand. Anyway, I didn't like this book because so many things were so underdeveloped because random things kept getting introduced and not, like, being followed up on. So anyway, I didn't like this book. So there's that. The next book on this list is called All Vicious Descent. This story is a YA historical fantasy sequel, and I enjoyed the first one so much that I had really high expectations for the sequel, but unfortunately I didn't like it at all. For example, all of the reasons as to why people criticized book one are so incredibly evident in this one. For example, the conflict dragged on so much, the characters keep going in circles, and one of the main characters dies at the end. Why does she die? The fact that I don't even remember whether or not it's Layla or Elise proves how much I disliked this book, because when I dislike a book, I put it out of my mind almost immediately. So, like, I didn't like this book at all, and I just don't understand why one of them died. Like, what's the point of that? Like, in terms of the plot, in terms of the writing, like, I don't get it at all. And, like, I don't think I really enjoyed any of the rest of the characters either. Like, I was introduced to such a wonderful world and characters and family dynamics and romance and everything, but, like, the sequel was so bad and was written so poorly, and it's so disappointing because I know that Hayley can write better because her first book was so good. So anyway, in conclusion, I did not like this book and it was so disappointing. The next book on this list is called An Arcane Inheritance. I just talked about this book in my last video, so I apologize if my review is redundant. But this book is a new adult dark academia following a Black college freshman at an elite university, and she's starting to experience deja vu. I didn't like this book very much, partly because it's one of those stories where you don't really understand what's happening until the end, and I've always hated that trope, for lack of a better word, because, like, if you don't understand what's fully happening until the end, what's the point of the beginning and the middle? Like, the plot is so slow, and I hated the pacing, and the world building felt so underdeveloped, and I don't like the romance that much because I don't really think that they actually have chemistry, if that makes any sense. And the magic made no sense to me, like, absolutely none at all. Like, even the ending wasn't good, and it felt so rushed too. Like, I think this book is very, very bad, and I think that all the conversations that could have been had about, like, PWIs or racism or colonialism or imperialism or any of that felt very surface level, and, like, I don't know, I didn't like this book very much. I had super high expectations for it, but I just thought that overall it was very mid, so there's that. The last book on this list is called The Everlasting. This story is an adult portal fantasy or something? I don't know. I didn't like this book because I wanted essentially more world building and less romance. I understand that this book is a romance-driven fantasy, but with that, I think that I wanted more world building. Like, how come there's only, like, 3 major characters and 2 of them are in love? Like, what's the point in that? I wanted more world building and less romance. I wanted the world to really develop outside of the 2 of them, if that makes any sense, because it meant to me that the characters themselves individually felt underdeveloped, because what do you mean I don't really know anything about them besides their love for each other? Like, what are their hobbies? What are their interests? Like, anything? Like, I don't know. People talk about this book like it's an epic love story, and it is if you're only looking at the romance, but I think that what makes a romance great is the characters themselves individually and everything, like, outside of their love for each other and how those other factors intertwine in their love for each other, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I don't really know if I really have a leg to stand on because I don't necessarily read a lot of adult epic romantic fantasies. So anyway, there's that. I really didn't like this book. So in conclusion, I considered shortening my passing rant review since it's 5 minutes long and I talk for less than 2 minutes about all the other books on this list, but then I was like, how about I don't do that? 2026 is about being more honest and transparent about the books that I'm either promoting or not promoting, and sometimes that means posting a rant review about a beloved classic book. So basically, I've spoiled, I think, all the books on this list, and if you're interested in reading them genuinely, I need you to know that I don't recommend any of these books, and that you need to go to other resources to find book reviews of these books from readers who genuinely actually enjoyed them. And taste in books is so subjective anyway, and people who act like it's a personal attack are so ignorant to me, in my opinion, because just because I disliked your favorite book doesn't mean that I'm a worse or less valuable person or reader or anything like that. So anyway, in conclusion, if you enjoy this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the strawberry emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.